All right, our last FBS Bowl game that we are talking about on the slate, we do have the Celebration Bowl on here. You know that I'm going to be throwing some FCS football into our episode if I can. We have the LA Bowl. I believe it is hosted by Gronk rather than Jimmy Fallon or whoever had it. Jimmy Kimmel, I think it was maybe before. But anyway, UCLA, now a 4-point favorite, which I find interesting, against Boise State. This game carries an over-under of 49.5 points, and it kicks off at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on ABC. I'm sorry, we have two more. I didn't scroll down far enough. We have two more. We also have the Independence Bowl after this. Anyway, this game kicks off at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California, Los Angeles. So this is a home game-ish for UCLA. It's not in Pasadena, but a few miles down the road. I saw a big jump. -2.5, Boise State was favored by. I saw a -5 flash in some spots on Monday. But look, the Mountain West teams have won both this game both years it existed. They played a couple of Power 5, Pac-12 teams that just didn't really want to be there. And is UCLA any different than that? I don't know. But look, there's a lot to go over with personnel here. Boise State, starting quarterback Taylon Green, he transferred to Arkansas because he's got that commitment. He will not be playing this game. Backup quarterback Maddox Madsen, he's out of this game with an injury. He suffered a year-ending one earlier. Their top two receivers are out. Eric McAllister transferred. Stephen Cobbs hasn't played since week 10. If he plays, that'd be great. Good news, though, Ashton Jeanty, the Mountain West Player of the Year, will play and return next year, so I'm looking forward to that. UCLA, they lost their defensive coordinator to USC. A couple other assistants are out. Their quarterback's coach, I know, is gone. And star pass rusher Latu, he opted out for the NFL. 3 other starters transferred. Carson Steele hasn't practiced this week. I keep an eye on that. I haven't seen a lot about that, but not insignificant. So this kind of feels like a who wants it less bowl. We'll have a few of those, but this is our first one with like opt-outs and coaching changes. And I'm still seeing about rumors about Chip Kelly. What's going on there? I guess he said he was going to have a conversation with his family, decide if he even wants to keep going. So I don't know, man. This is a tough game to handicap. I mean, UCLA's backups are likely more talented than Boise State's backups, but I feel like the Broncos have the motivation edge, and they like their new coach, and he's going to keep a lot of guys on for next year. So at this point, I can't back UCLA.
I'll get to UCLA in a second in the season that was, but you said Chip Kelly saying, I need to have a conversation with my family. Is this something we want to keep doing? Brett, I honestly think, and this is going outside of bowl scope and just larger picture, we're going to see a lot of college coaches hang it up or go to the NFL or just transition out of the profession. I think, given what it looks like to be a head coach in college football, high-level college football today, compared to what it looks like even 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, certainly, all the changes that are happening in college athletics, specifically as they relate to football, it's making the job of a head coach much different than it used to be. It's not better. It's not worse. It's different. And what we're seeing is this is not what a lot of these coaches came up aspiring to be. And the profession that they're in, it just looks different. The profession that I'm in as a college athletics administrator looks a lot different than it did 5-10 years ago. And you're seeing people leave the administration side too. It's not an indictment on anybody. It's not saying they're right or wrong. It's saying the job that I'm currently performing looks significantly different than I thought it would. Therefore, I am making a change. People say that all the time in lots of industries. I don't think college football is an exception. I don't think college football head coaching is an exception. So we will see if Chip Kelly and or other coaches leave the profession maybe earlier than we would have thought if things didn't change. But the fact is they did change, and now you're left to determine what you want to do with that. If I'm slightly disappointed as a Fresno State fan, despite meeting preseason expectations, I am absolutely thrilled as a Boise State fan, despite falling short of preseason expectations. Yes, I did project Boise State to win the conference, but I did not think it would go down the way it did. This team won a full game less than I projected, but still managed to improve its power rating by a point over the course of the season. I mean, Brett, these are the teams that I like to dive into. It's like, how did we fall short of win-loss expectations but exceed power rating expectations, or the inverse of that? It's an interesting kind of story that you tell as a team as you evaluate that and go out throughout the year. Boise State is one of those teams this year. As an added plus, this Boise State team was better than the 2022 team that they had in Boise, suggesting they might be trending in the right direction as a program, which on the surface you'd say, no way, they fired a coach. They did that. Like, the power ratings tell a story, and the story is, hey, you're actually improving as a program. Keep doing what you did in the last month of the season because it is working well. For UCLA, coming into the year, Brett, we're talking about a favorable schedule and a really good offense. If the defense could surprise some people, UCLA might be able to make a run to Las Vegas is what I was saying. And I know I'm not the only one. I don't want to speak for other people, though. Well, the defense did surprise some people. So did the offense, though. And that surprise was not in a good way. Get this for symmetry, Brett. I had to double check this as I was doing the prep. In the preseason, I projected the Bruin offense to be number 13 and the defense to be number 66. Current rankings, the Bruin defense is number 13 and the offense is number 66. Very interesting, very strange. You don't see that very often. Essentially, I nailed the 2 unit rankings, Brett. I just completely whiffed on which unit was going to be the better one. So it's interesting how that works. Overall, I don't know how to say it. It was a very disappointing year for a UCLA team that won one fewer game than expected and whose power rating fell a point from the preseason to current. This was the worst UCLA team since the 2020 COVID season by my power ratings.
I'm going to be honest, I don't agree with the line movement in favor of UCLA. This is Boise State to me on the motivation front. UCLA, the kids don't go anywhere. They just kind of stay at home. And look, that's going to drive betting traditionalists just up a wall. Just to hear motivation and what are you doing trying to project what 19-year-old kids are going to... Dude,
it's real.
There's some teams that just don't go anywhere fun, and their heads are not going to be in the bowl game. They're just not. You see that plenty. And UCLA staying home, which where else would you want to be in the country besides Southern California in December? I get it. But there's nothing new and exciting. Yeah, they have things for them to do, but I don't know that they come into this game all that motivated, especially since you look at the end of the year for UCLA. They lost all their motivation. They got crushed by Cal in the final game. They lost to Arizona State. The only time that they won was in an absolute full quit off against USC. That was a slightly, their rivalry game. I'm going to be honest. I think Boise State. I think Boise State wins this game.
I don't disagree with you, Brett. Real quick before we move on to the next one, Dante Moore. Any thoughts from Detroit originally? Seeing some suggestion, maybe comes back to the Midwest. What's your gut tell you? I mean, former 5-star quarterback, right? Didn't work out. Didn't stick at UCLA. Any thoughts? I know we're going to talk later about transfer portal and all that stuff, but I have to ask since he's such a high profile name from a team in this bowl.
Oregon's out because they just brought in Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah.
We'll see. I've seen some things about J.J. McCarthy maybe actually returning to Ann Arbor, and I know Michigan was in there. Michigan State, I think, is out because I think they're going to bring that Childs kid in from Oregon State. I honestly don't know where Dante Moore's going to go. I don't know if he's going to go to a premier program, and if he does, guys, if your team lands Dante Moore, you should be excited about it, but I said about it with Ohio State. I don't know that he's even an upgrade over Kyle McCord. I don't think he was very good.
That's where I was going. I was wondering if Ohio State was maybe a landing spot and what you thought about that. But we can get into it later, I'm sure. I know we got a couple more Bulls to talk about. I just had to ask, since he is such a high-profile name and hadn't seen the J.J. McCarthy maybe coming back. I saw a mock draft that he was a first-round pick, I think, going to the Raiders.
Matt
crazy.
Miller. So he's probably going, and people are probably screaming at their screens right now, like, no, he's leaving. But I don't know, man. I've seen one or two little bits of information kind of buried, hints that maybe he comes back. And honestly, I think we'll see. If I know Michigan, I think has a high recruit sitting behind McCarthy, the kid that can run. But I don't know, man. If they don't land a big name in the portal, I wouldn't be surprised to see McCarthy come back. Anyway,